We are back for another video talking about the 2025 NFL Draft. Got to come up with a name or something for this kind of playlist, this video, this series, whatever we're going to call it. But we are here to hunker in talking about the 2025 NFL Draft, and we have a plethora of topics. Obviously, congratulations to the Philadelphia Eagles for winning the Super Bowl. They are locked and loaded at the 32nd pick in the draft, last pick of the first round. Chiefs 31, and we've already kind of discussed everything else. But in today's video, we're going to be talking about quarterbacks and cornerbacks. We're going to kind of discuss top quarterbacks that we think we could see going in the first few picks, maybe some quarterbacks that fall, maybe teams trade back in to take Jackson Dart, Jalen Milroe, whoever it may be. Maybe a Quinn Ewers falls to the second, third round. What is his age play factor? Cornerbacks, of course. And then we want to kind of talk team specific here with the Jets, with the Browns, and the Titans. And at the end of everything, we're going to do a mock draft. But this video was brought to you by my loyal patrons through the channel membership program. Pledge today and receive exclusive perks, benefits, early access to videos, and more. Link in the description. Hector, good morning. How are you today?
Good morning. I'm pretty well. I'm excited for this. It's been, 2 weeks, 3 weeks now?
I was going to say, I think 2 weeks. I think when this video releases, that'll be 2 weeks from the first one.
Wow, it's been some time.
I know. So well, I'm thinking we can kind of talk about this now, actually, so they can kind of get an idea. Now that we kind of know the draft board, and of course things are going to change with free agency, I'm thinking maybe March we can kind of start going every week. Maybe kind of do this one, wait another 2 weeks, and then kind of bang them out every week.
That works for me.
We love talking football. We love talking the draft and the whole draft process. But where do you want to start? Let's start with the team. Titans, Browns, or Jets?
I want to do the Jets.
Jets.
I got my Rodgers jersey on, so I'm ready to
Yuck. Now, for those that don't know, the Jets are the 7th position right now on the draft board. They could go a myriad of different ways. The reason why we want to talk about the Jets today is because the news of obviously Aaron Glenn being the quarterback, and he did want Aaron Rodgers, but Aaron Rodgers was like, I'm good. So Rodgers, or was it the other way around? I think it was the other way around.
It was what?
Did Rodgers want to stay, but Aaron Glenn didn't want him? Or
it was Aaron Glenn was. They were both open to either a reunion or just parting ways.
Yep.
I don't think they came out with the exact reason why. Most likely the front office, and then just wanted to
just kind of a fresh
start, even though it's probably the 50th fresh start for the Jets.
So they could go so many different ways, the Jets. And are any of them going to be the right way? I mean, it's the Jets at the end of the day, so it very well could not be. But without Rodgers, it's set in stone that Rodgers is not coming back unless something crazy happens. What do they do at the 7th spot? Such a broad question.
Because it's like you're not high enough for a quarterback, at least in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if you want to take Cam Ward or Shadur with that pick, or I mean like in the earlier picks, that's fine. Even though I know nobody's huge on them, but you're at 7. It's probably gonna cost a haul to try and get up to even like 3, which the Giants aren't going to. They need a quarterback. I mean, I wouldn't hate a trade down scenario because
get some capital.
Yeah, get capital. The team. They're picking at 7, but they are not that many pieces away from being a playoff contending team, which I know it's a hot take, but you look at the defense. It was an off year this year, but I mean, they are firing coaches left and right. Aaron Rodgers was there, being, Aaron Rodgers. And it's the defense, when healthy, when they're actually focused, top 5 unit in the league, and it's not even crazy to say that.
No.
In the offense, Garrett Wilson can be a top 10 receiver. I mean, that's really it for the receivers they have.
That's it.
Breece Hall is a good running back. O-line is all right. Nothing crazy, but it's better than a lot of the other teams. Mm-hmm. If they can just get, like, a solid receiver, too, to get a tight end in the class, and honestly, stick with Jordan Travis, give him a year or so.
And it's a very interesting point because these teams take these quarterbacks 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round as second, third, fourth string quarterbacks, scout quarterbacks, and they never use them. Now, of course, you may figure out along the way that they're just not what you thought they were, but it would be nice to see teams kind of give those guys a chance, especially like your Malik Willis's of the world or your Brock Purdy's of the world, who obviously capitalized his chance, your Jordan Travis of the world, Joe Milton. But the Jets are in a very interesting spot because they I don't think, unless they want to mortgage the future, have the assets to trade up. They're not going to trade up with the Pats. They're not going to trade up with the Giants. Browns, maybe. Titans, maybe. Just in terms of, like, all right, who could I actually see them working a deal with? They have the picks to do it this year. They have one in every round, I believe, if I'm looking at that correctly. And, of course, they could mortgage the future as well. Now, my whole thing, and I'm going to say this every time we talk about trading back, no team, as of now at least, has 2 first-round picks to kind of dangle in front of a team. Where is it? To dangle in front of a team. Be like, hey, look, you could take these 2 first-round picks to move, and get more assets. So any team that we kind of talk about trading down is in a very interesting spot. Where do they go specifically? Obviously, time will tell, and free agency is going to change that. But personally, I don't think it's a quarterback, at least not in that first round spot, at least not at 7. So with the Rodgers not coming back, with both of us thinking that they're not going to go quarterback, even unless like a Cam or a Shedeur drops, where do they go? Do they go D-line? Do they go receiver and get maybe McMillan if he's there? Do they go O-line? I mean, there's a bunch of different ways they could go, but they need a lot of pieces.
I think if I'm at 7, because like I just said, their defense is solidified. Plus, it's a very defensive-heavy class, so if you want to worry about that later, I'm thinking go offense, go McMillan, or, hot take Tyler Warren at 7. Give potentially Jordan Travis a safety blanket. Like I said, you have Garrett Wilson, who's proven with the Zach Wilson he can be a great receiver. Sorry.
Yep.
Why not just? I mean, even if you have to trade back, get a few picks. I know you're not. Like you said, there's no multiple first-round picks, but if you're trading back to take a tight end, just take the second-round pick.
So the thing about that is you got to worry about maybe other teams kind of worrying about Tyler Warren being the next Brock Bowers of at least of this class, right? That ultra receiving tight end. Maybe a team. I mean, we've in the mocks that we've done offline, we've had the Colts constantly take him. Do the Colts maybe make a move, trade up to get Anthony Richardson, his security blanket? Because I do believe, Tyler Warren, whether it's him, Colson Loveland, or I can't think of the other tight end. This is gonna bother me now. I'll figure out his name later.
Harold Fannin.
Thank you. I think those 3 tight ends could be those security blankets for a lot of these younger quarterbacks or maybe rookie quarterbacks coming in. Now, does the conversation change much if Rodgers was to be back with the Jets next year? Because I don't think so, especially if we don't think they're going to take a quarterback, and they don't need to take a quarterback at 7. Because whether Rodgers is the quarterback or not, if they're going to go D-line, they're going to go D-line. And if they want to go safety, they're going to go safety either way. So, I mean, I don't think the quarterback matters all too much.
I don't think it matters too much, but I definitely think there is some type of play if Rodgers is still there. Because when you have Rodgers, you have someone who can help you win now. So I think if he was sticking around, Aaron Glenn would probably think, okay, let's try and get one more good year, try and make a playoff push. So they'd probably, go receiver or go something to help him make that final push. Now that Aaron's gone, they can all sit there and be like, all right, well, we don't have to win this year. I mean,
just kind of hit their whole reset button.
Jet fans are used to not winning,
sucking anyway,
and they still show up.
Sorry, guys.
So I honestly think Rodgers leaving is the best case scenario.
Best case. I like that. Yeah.
I mean, they're taking so much in cap hit, but get it off the books now.
Yep.
Worry and just plan for your future. Because if you waited, you'd have to worry about, hey, is he going to be 2020 Rodgers where he won the MVP, or he's going to be kicking back, taking psychedelics, throwing for an average, 200 yards and a touchdown.
I mean, look at it this way: the Bills are probably still the favorite in the East. The Patriots are going to make moves. They've already did with Mike Vrabel. I mean, people expect them to make moves to be competitive. The Dolphins still need to be taken very seriously, even with or without Tyreek Hill. So, I mean, the Jets kind of missed their window, and I know Rodgers only played 4 snaps because of the Achilles, but this year was supposed to be their year, really, because the Bills kind of failed and flamed out in the playoffs, oftentimes. So the Jets, they had it, and then they dropped it. So hitting the reset button is definitely kind of a smart play here. One more thing about the Jets before we kind of pivot to another team is I just don't know. Oh, no, this was the question, sorry. Do we see them taking a quarterback maybe in the second round, whether that's early in the second, or maybe using that second pick to maybe at least trade back into the first round? Because we've seen them make a ton of moves in 2022, Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, and McDonald, I believe, the edge rusher.
I think it was Jeremiah Johnson or something like that.
Maybe, I think it was, Jeremiah Johnson, the edge rusher. So we've seen them make moves to trade up and to move around the board. Could we see them doing something like that again?
If it's for a quarterback, not in the second round, it's just... We've talked about it plenty of times. I'm not huge on any of the quarterbacks in this class.
Me neither.
Like I said, if you have Jordan Travis looked solid in college, just get a year out of him and wait until next year where you have potentially DJ Lagway, Arch Manning, and whoever else. I don't really remember the last.
Well, Carson Beck. I mean,
Carson Beck. I mean, he should have came out this year, but
let's
get
see.
your money.
Because like the thing with Jordan Travis is he had a great season at Florida State. I mean, what were they, undefeated, and then he broke his leg, and I think that leg break really lost him like 2 rounds in the draft.
Yeah.
And you just hate to see that, but that's just the nature of it. And he wasn't going to be ready, and I think that's where the Jets were able to take him, was in the 5th round, because he was not a ready prospect. But if you give him a full healthy year of an offseason, Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, and a decent line, maybe they go O-line to protect him. Maybe Jordan Travis is the plan. I think they could be, a sneaky 7-8 win team maybe this coming year, and with a bright future ahead.
I don't hate that, mostly because, I mean, I think he's been sitting behind him for a year or 2 years now. I think it has been.
He was drafted this past year.
So even then, just a year, you sat behind Rodgers.
Yeah, that's not a bad player to sit
look at Jordan Love.
Mm-hmm.
Love sat behind him for 2.5, 3 years now, and I know he didn't have the best season, injury riddled, but you look at his first year ever fully starting, led the youngest team to the playoffs, destroyed Dallas, almost beat the Niners in San Francisco.
Destroyed Dallas. You just had to just make that emphasis. Destroyed Dallas.
Jordan Travis.
Not beat Dallas.
No, we destroyed him.
Okay.
But if Jordan Travis can just learn a little bit from Rodgers, I mean, in my opinion, that's probably the best quarterback you can learn from. Because, like, I've always said he's the most talented of all time. Not the best, but just, most talented.
Yeah.
And because, like I said, Jordan Love, look, I'm sorry to say it, love him, but it looks terrible coming out of Utah State. Not terrible, but didn't look great. And he got to learn behind. If just Jordan Travis can take anything from Rodgers, I'm not saying he'll be like Jordan Love, but like you said, 7, maybe 8 win team if that team stays healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Or he could suck and they can be like, all right, well, that's that plan. Go get a quarterback.
And listen, you got Wilson, you got Breece Hall. Maybe you take an O-line, maybe you take a receiver. And if Jordan Travis works out, great. You got yourself your version of Brock Purdy. You got your version of Tom Brady. At least that late round quarterback, diamond in the rough. And then if it doesn't work out, well, it was a 5th round pick. Who cares? You're probably drafting in the top 5 next year, anyways. Then take your quarterback next year. So I think it's a low risk, high reward situation for the Jets if they ride it out with Jordan Travis. Obviously, free agency. Maybe they bring back Sam Darnold. That's been kind of linked. Maybe they bring in a Russell Wilson. Who knows who they bring? But speaking of quarterbacks, let's talk about the Cleveland Browns.
Oh boy! Because
the Cleveland Browns, they don't want to trade Myles Garrett, who's not a quarterback, just for the record. He is a edge rusher. But But there's been rumors and links of a combined package deal with him and Deshaun Watson to kind of offload that contract. If you want this guy, unfortunately, you got to take this guy too. So the question is, what the hell do the Browns do? That's the question.
It's such a hard question because I think they should trade Myles Garrett. Mm-hmm. I know they came out and were like, oh, we don't want to. It's Myles Garrett. Nobody wants to trade Myles Garrett.
Yeah. No one wants to trade Luka, but I mean, apparently the Mavs do.
But I mean, the issue is they can't trade him. Like, with how much he's going to cost, I mean, I know they could probably go into the negatives and just write it out. Mm-hmm. But financially, I think they cannot trade him. And I think that's the main issue, and that's probably why they don't want to trade him, because they don't want to be in that, cap bills type of thing.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
You're already there with Deshaun Watson. You're already there with a bunch of other players. Just take the hit now, try and refresh. You guys shouldn't have been here in the first place. You had Baker Mayfield. But
gave up on him.
If you guys can get 2 first-round picks for Myles Garrett, just take the cap hit and move on. I don't know if they can cut Watson, but just add that to the dead cap or add it to the cap. Just take it now and just start over.
Yeah, they got to try to figure out, my opinion, because there's not much to save here. The only saving grace really the Browns, I think, have is, I don't want to say running it back, but just kind of bringing back a lot of the guys, try to shave off a lot of salary if you can, expiring contracts, don't bring those back, have an infusion of youth through the draft, bringing in guys with like a year or 2 of experience, and then maybe just riding out with like a guy like Jameis Winston. I mean, he's getting linked and connected, to a lot of different places, but you already have him in the building. You already have him reading the playbook and knowing the playbook. You had Jerry Jeudy play the best football of his career. And if he's going to be your number 1, which you gave him a contract extension, so you kind of think that he could, why not just ride it out with Winston, who's probably going to be a cheaper option, and then just try to, let the dead money run its course this year. If you can't trade Myles Garrett, have a sit down, listen, we'll try, no guarantee, the money's tight. And I think that's kind of the best direction for them to go. And through that process, you're trying to be competitive. But again, like the Jets, you're probably in the top 5 next year as well. And then you can take your quarterback, because next year's quarterback class, when we do this again next year, guys, we're going to be talking about this quarterback, Arch Manning. We're going to be talking about Carson Beck, DJ Lagway. It's going to be so much more fun, because both Hector and I, we're not the biggest fans of a Cam Ward, of Shadur Sander. I mean, I like the second round, the day 2 quarterbacks way better, because that's where they should go.
Yeah.
But sticking with the Browns, though, at 2, let's say Garrett's on the team.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say Watson's on the team. Free agency is not all too successful. Titans go with Abdul Carter. What do you do at 2?
What do you do at 2? That's a good
No
question.
trading. Can't trade.
No trading.
No trading.
I'd probably go Hunter.
Travis Hunter.
Because, I mean, Cam Ward, like I said, you just said, neither of us are high on the quarterbacks. But if you're going to take one, my favorite is Cam Ward. It's just, you have Denzel Ward, Greg Newsome. Both of them want out. Well, not that they want out. They're in trade talks this year. They probably heard that and was like, well, if this team wants to trade me, why would I want to be here? Get me out of here. You can plug in Travis Hunter, who, I mean...
You can let him play both sides of the damn ball if you really want. You suck enough. Might as well. Might as well bring excitement and juice to your team.
And if he can learn from Denzel Ward and Greg Newsome, which he doesn't really need to learn. He was
and
top.
Jerry Jeudy.
Cedric Tillman. But he was, the 7th or 6th best cornerback, which I know doesn't sound great.
Yeah.
But he was playing both sides of the ball. Mm-hmm. And it's like, to be able to still be top 10 in your position in the country, if you can just learn from 2 solid cornerbacks, and then let one of them walk, plug him in, you'll be fine in the secondary. You don't have to worry about it for the next 5 years.
So let me run this by you, because I'm just looking at it now. The Browns have 12 draft picks this year.
Jeez.
That's a lot.
Wow.
They got 191, 199, 215, 216, 256. They got a ton in the 6th and 7th round. Obviously, they're not going to use that to move around the board in the first day or 2 of the draft, but we could see them maybe address some of their depth needs or this random outside linebacker need, by using those picks to move into the 4th and the 5th rounds. So, of course, they could use those picks to trade out. But, I mean, if they're able to make the money work, and, we can kind of get into the whole salary cap situation later on, I mean, they have a ton of capital this year to fill those holes of the players that they trade away. Plus, they're going to get the assets and capital in future drafts, maybe a couple picks this year. Myles Garrett, let's just say, is a two first-round picks. Denzel Ward should be 3 first-round picks, 2 first and a second at the very worst. Maybe you can trade Jeudy for, a 4th-round pick or something. So there's definitely moves for the Browns to make. And if they do make those moves, you have to absolutely hammer the reset button. You're going to have to be a 1-win team next year.
Because I think the Browns... ignoring the cap space. Let's say the cap space just goes away.
Let's just say they figured it all out, because
this is the best year to move on from Garrett. Because I know you said we're ignoring all that, but it's the best year because this edge rush class,
what is he?
Insanely deep. They have players like Abdul Carter, Jack Sawyer, Mike Green, Nick Scorton, James Pierce.
He's 29 years old, by the way.
That's it?
So
I feel like he's all older.
His birthday is December 29th. He'll turn 30. So, I mean, if you are going to trade him, now is the time, because once he gets to the wrong side of 30, I mean, Aaron Donald was able to do it pretty well for a couple years into his 30s, but he retired early too. So, I mean, how much time does Myles Garrett have left?
Well, I think the difference there is Aaron Donald, he got his ring. He's proven that he is debatably the best D tackle of all time. Mm-hmm. Garrett still has to get a ring. Still has to prove to everyone that, hey, I'm better than TJ Watt, which I'm not sure if I agree. I think they're neck and neck. Yeah. I know Steelers fans will say TJ and Browns fans will say Garrett.
It's a good conversation,
But I think he definitely has a lot more to prove, so I can see him sticking around until he's 35, 36. But go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to ask you a question, but finish your thought.
It's just, if I'm Cleveland, like I said, we talked about a few minutes ago, take the hit now on the cap.
Yep.
Get the 2 first round, maybe more, because he's under 30 still. Get more. Hit the reset button, at least on that position. Because like I said, I just listed 5 guys who could replace him. Not replace, but, plug him in. And there's still 4 of the guys they didn't name. So it's trade him now. You're not going to get a class like this when it comes to... I mean, obviously...
It's deep.
Obviously, they could all be busts. Yeah. That's obviously a possibility. But there's going to be a few hidden gems in here that you can just... like I said, trade Garrett, plug him in, and even if he isn't, Myles Garrett level, which honestly is obviously hard to do. You can't really find anyone who's going to be like that. Just Do it now.
So I wanted to look up because I think this is a really great comparison here, and then I'm going to follow up with a question afterwards. I just looked up the trade between the Patriots and the Raiders 14 years ago. Was it 14 years ago? I don't even know how long ago it was. It was Richard Seymour to the Raiders for a first-round pick. Just a clean Seymour first-round pick. I think that was in like the 2009, 2010 they traded him. I forget. I'm trying to figure that out. I mean, the draft pick was for 2011. Anyways, Seymour at the time was 29 years old. He goes for one first-round pick. Now, I think, tick for tack, Myles Garrett's way better.
Yeah.
But Richard Seymour at his time was probably a top 5 D end like Myles Garrett is now. But the thing is, he was traded at 29, and he played, I think, like 4 years with the Raiders. So if they're going to trade him, the Browns, now is the time, because once you hit 30, 2 first-round picks turns into one turns into a second. So it's a very, very interesting spot to the Browns, because if you do trade Myles Garrett or Denzel Ward, but more Myles Garrett, you are telling everybody, all right, we are going to suck, and we need to hit the reset button, because you're not going to trade a superstar, arguably the best D end in the league right now, if you plan on being competitive in what you think is an open NFC North, which I think is crazy. But I just kind of wanted to bring that up. I mean, I kind of just thought of it.
No, I 100%. It's a very similar situation. Although, obviously, I think Myles Garrett is better than Richard Seymour. So he could go for 2 first-round picks. But
now, though, once he turns 30, all things are going to change.
That 2 first turns into, we'll give you 1 first. And then after that, it
just gets worse and worse.
Give you a 5th-round pick.
So, again, that's obviously if money works. That's going to be a huge factor. But let me ask you this. I'm looking at PFF right now. Team needs for the Browns: quarterback, running back, tackle, cornerback.
Interesting.
Running back at 2. They're not taking Genty, right? I mean, can we just like squash that, or do they trade back to 5 and take him there? But
I mean, if you get a quarterback, all right, let's say they bring in like Sam Darnold, and for some reason, this front office thinks, we can win now. Bring in Darnold. They're probably thinking, what do we do? Our receivers weren't that bad last year, and Njoku is a great tight end, a good tight end. Let's bring in Genty. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Now, I think that is the worst scenario, even though I love Genty. But
Genty
it's like,
at 2, that's crazy.
It's a scenario where if it happened, I'd be a little shocked, but at the same time, I'm not surprised.
I was thinking about this on the way in today, that I think the first 5 to 10 picks is either going to be extremely boring, because we kind of hammered what we think the teams are going to do. Oh, the Titans are going to take Carter. Whoop-de-doo. Oh, the Browns are going to take whoever. Oh, the Pats are taking whoever. Or Titans going to keep the first overall pick till draft night. Boom, they're going to trade him. We're going to be like, Hector, what the hell's going on? What do we do? I mean, where's the mock drafts for the Jets moving all the way up to the first round, or the Giants are going to drop to 10? It's like, where did that come from? So there's going to be a lot of action, or it's going to be a very boring draft, I think. But nonetheless, it's going to be very exciting, and we can't wait to bring it to you come then. But I did kind of allude to the Titans at 1, and I think this is a really good conversation, because they've said, and I think we mentioned this last time, they want to take a generational talent. Now, there's arguments for Abdul Carter, which I think we both think is the generational talent of this draft. Travis Hunter being a dual superstar player. Ash Genty, arguably a generational talent at running back, but obviously they're not going to take a running back here at 1.
They don't need it. I think feel like running back is
so I guess the question is, do you stick and pick, or do you field offers to get more assets, maybe in future drafts, to kind of rebuild? Because are they close? No, but the AFC South is not that competitive. Sure, you got the Texans, but I mean, they didn't blow people out of the waters this year. No. So I mean, what do you think is the most logical thing?
I think most logical is trading out.
Trading out,
because their team is so old, and it's like, I don't know if they thought they could win now, because they had Will Levis, who I'm not completely sold on, which I know is weird to say, but I mean, he didn't have great coaches. I mean, he didn't have Rabel. He had Ben Callahan, or whatever his name is, from the Bengals, and he didn't really have much help. They kind of just threw him out there and said, "Hey, kid, go for it." Which I know is a lot of the scenarios now. And the players like C.J. Stroud led the Texans team, who everyone was like, they're going to pick at 4 again to a playoff spot. Bryce Young, it took him 2 years, but he looks like he can be great. And it's like,
time.
And it's like the receiving core is Calvin Ridley, who's 30, 31.
I will tell you right now. Carry on with your thought, and I will get back to you.
Calvin Ridley is 30-31. Tyler Boyd, who, a great slot receiver on the Bengals, where you have Jamar Chase,
He
T.
is
Higgins.
30.
30?
He'll be 31 December 20th.
So it's like, you got to trade down because the team isn't going to go anywhere anytime soon. Even though I think this Titans can be a sneaky team with the right, because you have Tony Pollard, who was solid, Tajay Spears, who can be solid. Other than that, I mean, the O-line's solid. You plug in a few pieces in this draft, not with that first pick or first few picks. I'm not, but it's like the receivers are old. The defense isn't bad, but you have L'Jarius Sneed, who for some reason you guys extended, which don't get me wrong, it's nothing against him. He's also 30 years old, I'm pretty sure, or at least close to it.
L'Jarius Sneed, they just got him from the Chiefs last offseason. They signed him.
They extended him. I'm not sure how old he is.
He is 28. He will be 29 in January.
Well, that's not bad, but wrong side of 20, or in your 20s.
I think at the time of the signing,
he was like 26, 27.
Yeah, and then that makes sense. You get him to his 30, and then you walk away from him.
Like, because when I saw that trade, it was the most weird trade, because it's like, I mean, for the Chiefs, get rid of him. Take the picks you can get.
Titans have 8 picks, by the way.
8, that's it?
135, 101, 118, 141, 167, 177, and 240. So, again, a lot of day 3 stuff. But, 8 picks.
That's a lot of picks in the top 150.
They go from 1 to 35, and then they don't have another selection from 35 to 101. So, they're picking the pick, what is that, the third pick in the second round? Or a second pick in the second round? And then they're not seeing another one until the 4th round.
Yeah.
So, that's a huge problem.
That helps my case of trade down. Even if it is trade down to like 3 or 4, not the 4, it has to be the Patriots. The Patriots aren't going to trade up to 1. Unless
not when they had one. All they had to do was suck for another game.
Blame Joe Milton for that.
Looks good.
He looks good.
And then that's something that could even throws a wrench into this whole conversation. Let's say the Titans like Joe Milton, whatever. Young quarterback. Hey, let's throw you a 4th, 3rd round pick, whatever. Okay, sure. I think the Pats would do that in a heartbeat. And now, overnight they have I'm not going to say the franchise quarterback, but someone that they think could be a franchise caliber quarterback who's no schmuck, at least after one game and a little bit of preseason. But he looked good at Tennessee when he was there. And then now you can think, all right, now they have one. They don't need a quarterback. Sure, they could take Carter. Sure, they could trade and get more assets. So now once any of these teams, whether it's the Titans, the Browns, the Giants, the Raiders, Jets, I'm just looking at all these quarterback needy teams. Once they can figure out that quarterback position, at least for 1 year, whether they bring in a Darnold, a Winston, whoever, a Joe Milton, if that's a trade, this conversation gets, I think, a lot easier.
Yeah.
Because the Titans, we don't think will go quarterback. But if they go quarterback, all right, the quarterback position solved. Hopefully, right? But now they can't fill their other needs on the spot. And like you mentioned, they're aging. There's some bad contracts. And they need depth. All these bad teams need depth because they suck. And with that first overall pick, they're going to probably use the Panthers-Bears trade as a comp. 2 first-round picks, 2 second, and a 5th, whatever the hell the trade was. And I don't think no team's going to give it to them. I really don't, unless they absolutely love Abdul Carter. Because I think that's the only reason why a team would trade into one, is to get Abdul Carter. Because I don't think these quarterbacks are worth trading for.
No, unless the Patriots want to trade up for Carter. You wouldn't want that?
No, you had one. You should suffer the consequences and continue to suck to get the first overall pick, and then you would be in the absolute driver's seat, because then we could be sitting here talking about the Patriots trading down to 4, getting 4, pick swapping, getting a first next year, and maybe another 2 this year, and then you're in a much better position, because then you could have went, say, Travis Hunter or McMillan if he's on the board. Then you could have taken that second-round pick and drafted Jahad Campbell if he's there. I'm just kind of throwing names out there. And then, that other team probably still sucks next year. Now you can take that pick and draft the top whoever in, next year's draft. No, but they decided to actually play good. So let's talk about quarterbacks. We've talked about the Jets, the Titans, and the Browns. And we've kind of alluded to some quarterback issues that these teams have. But let's talk about the players in the draft itself. Okay. We talked about Shedeur a little bit last time. We talked about Cam a little bit last time. Give me a name that we haven't talked much about that maybe we should.
This is a weird one, because not that he's good, but he could be. Will Howard.
Fresh off a championship.
He didn't look fantastic in the championship, but dominated Notre Dame. I know it got close in the end, but is that really them getting close, or is that just, hey, ease off the gas pedal a little bit and just try and cruise into the national championship?
Yep.
It's like, I mean, I know historically Ohio State doesn't have a great record with quarterbacks. C.J. Stroud currently is changing the narrative, but I mean, I would not put C.J. Stroud and Will Howard on the same level. I mean, when you're throwing the ball to arguably the best receiver in college football, it's kind of easy to play quarterback.
Yeah, and I think that's the case for, not to completely switch topics, but I think Sam Darnold, I think he still sucks and he's completely overrated. If you're throwing to Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison and T.J. Hawkinson when he's healthy, you should look pretty good too.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of my case for him. But
I mean, I definitely think he can be good.
Yeah.
It's just, is it the system or is it you?
Well, let's look at it this way. Kyle McCord was in that system last year with, I mean, obviously Jeremiah Smith wasn't there, but like, I mean, you still had Ibuka, you still had, I can't think of his name, the wide receiver, Marvin Harrison. He was there, and the team was still exceptionally good. They fell off a cliff at the end of the season, but we put the blame more on Ryan Day than we did on, say, Kyle McCord.
Yeah.
And now that Will Howard, led that team to the national championship, now we're giving Will Howard all the flowers, and I feel like Ryan Day's not getting the respect because, he's the coach. He deserved it. He earned it.
Yeah.
But, like, it shouldn't be that hard to win when you have that kind of roster on your team. So, again, is it the system or is it the player? Could this Ohio State team won with Kyle McCord? I'd say yes.
I'd say yes. But in a way, at least on the offense side maybe, I do think they are better. I think Jeremiah Smith hopefully and will be better than Marv and Egbuka. But you're throwing the ball to Marvin Harrison Jr. and Egbuka. You should have been able to at least – I mean, I know the playoff system was different. It was only 4 teams. And – was it Washington, Michigan, Texas, and Bama?
Was clearly last year?
Oh, yeah. Was that last year?
Washington,
Texas,
Bama,
Michigan, Bama.
Yeah.
And that team clearly wasn't better than any of those teams. But if you put that team in the 12 playoff team, do they make it that push?
Yeah.
Does Kyle McCord show, hey, maybe I could be a good pick?
And that's why I love the 12. So I originally did not like the 12. I wanted them to go from 4 to 8. I thought that would have been a better jump. But them from going to 12, it gives teams like Boise State, it gives teams like Liberty that was in the mix for a little bit. You know, Ole Miss was in the mix.
I do think they should go back, cut it down to 8, only because look at the teams that had bye weeks.
I hate the bye week system.
Boise State,
terrible.
I mean, Boise State other than Genty isn't a great team. I mean, and then when Penn State, who had I think the 3rd best defense in the nation, put a 9-man box against Genty in. Wait, was it in Penn State? I don't know. Just against that, what are you gonna do? I don't think
Boise State. No, it was a neutral site game.
Was it?
The first round is home games.
All right.
And then it goes once there's 8 teams left, then it goes to neutral sites.
Yeah, but then you have like Georgia, which I'm gonna give Georgia the benefit of the doubt. They kept it close to Notre Dame with their backup in. If Carson Beck said, they probably win.
Yeah.
And let's see who else lost. Arizona State. I mean, then again, Arizona State kept it close to Texas. They almost won. Who's the other team that had a bye week? Oregon. And
Oregon got the short end of the stick no matter what. I mean, being the number 1 seed and having to go.
You had the hottest team. I mean, I know they lost to Michigan, but Ohio State, who just blew out Indiana.
Yep. Indiana should not have been there, but again, the 12 gives them the opportunity.
But that's why I'm a huge fan of the 8.
Yeah.
You get rid of the bye weeks, so every team has the same amount of rest. And like honestly, some of those teams from like the 9 to the 12, they're still like more of a participation trophy. Like, hey, you guys did good. Come get your butt whooped.
Yeah.
So it's like I don't know. I mean, I like the 12-team playoffs. It's more football.
Yeah.
But it's more of just, do we need that many teams? Is there 12 great teams that can make a push? Not really. If you cut it down to 8, that's a perfect amount of
football.
Yeah, perfect amount of football. And you have all those good 8 good teams. You can still do the conference. You can still do the.
They need to fix that whole thing.
Are you saying that because Bama didn't make it in?
We're not going to talk about that right now. We can maybe talk about it. Could be a little preseason video that we make. We're not talking about Bama right now unless we talk about Jalen Milroe. Okay, so let me rattle off some quarterbacks because it's a deep class, and I don't think it thins out quickly until you get to probably your day. 4th round quarterbacks.
Yeah.
So obviously there's Cam and Shadur that most people think are going to be first rounders. Probably 2-3 ish, even though they should. But that's kind of where they're projected to go. Then you got quarterbacks like Gabriel, Jalen Milroe, Will Howard, Riley Leonard, Jackson Dart, Quinn Ewers. All could be end of the first round if a team trades in for that fifth-year option, but most likely going to be day 2 guys, second round, third round. Out of that group there, Gabriel, Milroe, Howard, Leonard, Dart, Ewers. That's a lot, I know. Who has the most potential? And of course, it depends on the team, but let's just, whatever, it doesn't matter. Who has the most potential and who has the least potential out of that group?
Least potential?
Because for me, I'm just going to kind of rattle off my answers because I think it's super easy. I think the most potential is going to be either Jackson Dart or Jalen Milroe. And I can kind of defend that pick in a second. But the least potential, I think it's Quinn Ewers.
I agree.
Just because I think the age plays a factor. Michael Penix looked good his couple games that he played, and he was an older guy. Jaden Daniels older, and he looked good. But let's just ask ourselves. Is Quinn Ewers Jaden Daniels? No. Is Quinn Ewers Michael Penix?
No.
Man, I mean, with the arm talent-wise, maybe. But, I mean, who would you rather have, Michael Penix or Quinn Ewers? I would rather have Penix, personally.
Yeah, 'cause the thing is, Penix, led his team to the national champ. Wait, what is it? Yeah, national championship.
Got smoked, but yeah.
Got smoked. We don't talk about that.
Yeah.
But, and Quinn Ewers, when was the last time he played a full season?
So, this is my thing with Quinn Ewers, is whenever Texas is facing 3rd and 1, 4th and 2, or whatever, they put in Arch Manning to do a quarterback power.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, I understand Quinn Ewers isn't agile like that, like Arch Manning is, but, if you can't have your superstar franchise quarterback, I'm not saying do a tush push, but you can't do a quarterback sneak or some kind of rollout play action, something to pick up that first down. It just makes it seem like he's very limited. And right, when was the last time he played a full season? Sophomore season. So, I mean, I think there's more against him than there is for him. Mm-hmm. Could he be a very good passer quarterback? Sure. But the league is transitioning away from your pocket quarterbacks, which he's no slouch in the pocket. And he can move a little bit, but he's no Arch Manning. He's no Jaden Daniels. So it just, for me, I think he's limited. I mean, I was sitting here last year saying Michael Penix is a second round kind of guy, late first round kind of guy. He goes 8, 9, whatever to the Falcons, and again in the few games he played, he looked good, but he's also thrown to Drake London, and he's got Bichon out of the backfield, and
Kyle Pitts.
Kyle Pitts. I can't think of the Bears' old guy.
Darnell Mooney.
Thank you, Darnell Mooney. So, I mean, there's some weapons there. Yeah. But, I mean, if Quinn Ewers gets put in Atlanta, hypothetically, how good does he look, too? So, I'm not big on Quinn Ewers, and I'm big on Jalen Milroe and Jackson Dart, which I can get to those guys in a second, but I want to hear your thoughts first.
So, I'm going to agree, Milroe and Dart, but since you said that, I'm going to throw a wrench in there because he looked good. I mean, the weapons are okay.
I like wrenches.
Dylan Gabriel. I think if you put him in the right scenario,
the lefty. That's what I'm doing.
If you put him in the right scenario, or even have him, I don't know. I think
the left scenario.
I think he is on the older side. When I say that, I mean like 23, 24.
I will get back to you.
But he's just another situation of if you have him sit behind somebody,
doesn't say.
He could be good. And he led Oregon to the playoffs, which I mean, yeah, he didn't have crazy weapons. At least from what I know, he had Tez Johnson and other receivers. I didn't watch Oregon much, so I apologize. But
24.
Yeah, oh, geez, really?
He'll be 25 in December.
Ooh.
Again, another Michael Penix guy. He's a super senior. Another Michael Penix-esque. I mean, I think Gabriel moves a little
I think if you spend a 4th round pick on him in a situation where you could quarterback, yeah, I mean,
okay,
maybe Cleveland. If you don't want to take a quarterback with those first few picks, get the assets. Then hey, call up Dylan Gabriel, have him battle with. Actually, I don't know because Watson's gonna miss the whole next year, so I guess battle with himself.
So, this is my thing with a lot of these the quarterbacks that I rattled, pretty much the ones that aren't Shedeur and Cam. Mm-hmm. If you miss out, if you're the Titans, the Giants, I mean, we both think the Giants are going to take a quarterback because they're desperate. Yeah. They're going to save their jobs or try to. But if you're any of those quarterback-needy teams, they're just going to rattle them off besides the Giants, Titans, Browns, Raiders, Jets. I don't think any other teams.
Saints, maybe? I mean, Spencer Rattler.
Yeah, let's just throw the Saints in there, too. But if you're any of those teams and you don't like Cam or Shedeur, especially if they're available, or even if they're not, you don't have to get desperate and you put your tail between your legs because you have good quarterback depth in the 2nd, 3rd, and maybe even 4th round. Jalen Hurts was a 2nd-round quarterback. Dak Prescott, say what you want, but he's still pretty good, at least in the regular season. He was a 4th-round guy. Russell Wilson was a 3rd or 4th-round guy. Brock Purdy last pick. Tom Brady 6th round. So you can still find good quarterbacks in the later rounds.
Yeah.
I mean, Dylan Gabriel will be a great third-round quarterback, I think. Jalen Milroe, a great third-round quarterback, probably in the second just because of the physicality that he has. Will Howard, Riley Leonard, Quinn Ewers, they're all kind of the same makeup, I think, and I think they will be great third-round quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And there's no pressure. And Jackson Dart, I think, will be a second-round quarterback, maybe a first. I'm still kind of high on him. But there's no pressure if you take a quarterback in the second, third, or fourth round. Have them sit behind whoever your guy is, your bridge quarterback, or maybe a Jordan Travis, a Spencer Rattler, someone that's kind of already there, compete. And even if that quarterback sits and then eventually takes over, like Lamar took over, like Jalen Hurts took over, then there's way less pressure and you're getting way more value. What's the ceiling on Dylan Gabriel if you take him in the third round? He turns out to be a top 10, top 12 quarterback in the league out of the third round. I mean, that's a huge win for any franchise. What's the ceiling on taking Cam Shadur with a second or third overall pick? At that point, he needs to be a top 5 quarterback. He needs to be Mahomes. He needs to be Lamar and Josh Allen. So there's just way more pressure by taking a quarterback in the top 5 than there is in the second, third, fourth round. Because let's ask ourselves here. Do we think that there's a huge gap between Cam and Shadur to the field? I don't think there's a huge gap, if any at all. So why are we elevating these two guys? Because they put up the best stats? I mean, Jalen Milroe had I think, better season than Cam and Shadur, even though he's not the best passer. I would say the same thing about Quinn Ewers. I would say the same thing about Dylan Gabriel. Will Howard won a damn championship. So I think this quarterback class, the top 2 are overrated, and the rest is underrated.
Yeah.
So that is my little rant about quarterbacks.
I don't hate it at all.
DJ Uungalelea, literally is the last quarterback.
I mean, he is the last quarterback for a reason. I understand, he wants to play ball.
His ADP on PFF is 63.4.
I think his ADP should be Indeed.com.
That is the second round. That is the end of the second round. But his rank is 317.
I think his ADP from now on should be Indeed.com looking at jobs because
Kyle McCord's in this draft.
I like Kyle McCord.
What is it? Brady Cook's in this draft.
Ew.
So, again, you want the talent. You want the best players available, of course. And it's hard to find good talent in the late rounds. But I just don't think it is worth taking one of those two quarterbacks, Cam or Shadur, with your top 3 pick that you hope you never have to have again. And you look at the Eagles who just won the Super Bowl. They didn't reach on Jalen Hurts. I mean, sure, they might have reached on Carson Wentz back when they took him, but Jalen Hurts was the one that got them to the promised land, and he was a second-round guy. And I think Jalen Hurts was kind of a reach at that time in the second round. I thought he was more of a third-round guy. So, again, the talent is there. The potential is there in the later rounds. I think these teams need to be patient because how many times have we seen quarterbacks flame out? Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Mac Jones. Justin Fields might be on his third team in 3 years. Kenny Pickett blows.
He's a Super Bowl champion.
That is true. He does. He does have as many wins as your guy, Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, he does.
So, any other closing remarks about quarterbacks before we switch to cornerbacks?
Honestly, I think you covered it all. Although the only thing I would slightly disagree with, and it's not about these, it's the whole Carson Wentz thing. I mean, Carson Wentz did kind of bring him to the promised land if you look at the season. I mean, I know Nick Foles took over, but he had an MVP season. I mean, they gave it to Brady, which
Brady deserved it.
I'm not saying he didn't.
I think if Wentz didn't get injured,
I think if Wentz didn't get hurt, that was his award.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think they were 13-2, or they were something. I don't remember the record. I know Nick Foles had to come in, I think, for the last 2 games. But I just hope. I mean, I don't think any NFL teams are looking at the Carson Wentz situation saying, "Hey, we should do this." But it's more of just.
But it helps to take a quarterback in the second, third, fourth round when you have. I mean, I don't think them taking Hurts was the plan for them to move on from Carson Wentz. It's an insurance policy. You like the talent. If it works out, it works out. I mean, backup quarterbacks are so valuable in this league now because of the amount of injuries the quarterbacks sustain. And I think if you are the Saints with Derek Carr, right, and you take a Will Howard in the third, fourth round, that's a great backup to have. National champion, some experience, and a guy you kind of similar play style to Derek Carr, pocket quarterback mainly, and someone you could maybe kind of see, succeeding him. So I think the quarterback conversation is one that's going to constantly change, especially as we see veteran free agents sign, Jacoby, Jameis, I can't think of another one, Sam Darnold for that matter. So Yeah. Anything else about quarterbacks?
I think that's it for those the quarterbacks.
Talk to me about cornerbacks.
Corners. Oh man, I am excited.
Corner.
I am excited for the corner. I mean, I'm not excited as when it comes to like the edge rushers, but corners. Let's see. We got Jahdae Barron, who very, very underrated. Well, now he's still going late in the first, which is nice, but he plays in the SEC, which is arguably, I mean, even though they didn't win the national championship, arguably still
The toughest.
Yes, and he won I don't know if it's corner or DB of the nation. It's hard to do, and the fact that he's still under guys like Will Johnson.
Yep.
Travis Hunter, Benjamin Morrison, Savon Revel. Well, no, I think some people are taking him over.
Any given day, really.
Yeah. It's just, this is also, I wouldn't say a deep cornerback class, because there's guys like Trey Amos, who I'm seeing a lot of people put him in the first round. I don't like it. Not a huge fan of it. He's a good second round corner. Azariah Thomas out of FSU, I think he's a first round caliber player. Now, I mean, I probably won't take him in any first round mocks unless his combine looks fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a deep corner class, but it's also very top heavy. Where once you knock those first like 7, which I know 7's a lot, out, at least from my knowledge, not much after that.
There's 11 corners with an ADP, average draft position, on PFF under 100.
Yeah, actually.
And then there's 4 that have an ADP within the first round. So I think this cornerback class, I agree with you, is deep. And it's deep because it's more top heavy, significantly more top heavy than what we were just talking about with quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Like, I think the quarterback class is fairly deep, but it's deep in the second, third, fourth round, whereas the corners are deep within the first round. So it's kind of flip flop, but you can still find your values in your second, third, and fourth. Again, 11 corners, within the first 100 picks of average draft position on PFF. I'm glad you mentioned Jahdae Barron. We've talked about him a lot. SEC, Texas, corner or defensive player, defensive back of the year, whatever it is. But there's still other good guys. I know you mentioned Trey Amos out of Ole Miss. Again, another SEC team. But Savon Revel, I think, is someone that we talk about, I think, like off camera, obviously, but like someone that we don't talk about enough, because if it wasn't for his injury, we could be talking about him as a sure bet first round guy. He's in the conversation of Will Johnson, Ben Morrison. But the problem is the injury.
Yeah.
How will teams value that? They're either going to completely forget about it and go based off of his tape from 2023, or it's going to significantly hinder him and he's going to fall second, third round pick. I mean, Nolan Smith had an injury and he fell to the second round of the Eagles.
Yeah.
By far should have been a top 10 pick if he was completely healthy. Top 15 maybe. But like, again, these injuries for these guys just really hinder. I mean, Josh Simmons, I believe, the tackle for Ohio State, he could fall out of the first round because of his injury. So, I mean, injuries play a huge factor, but how do you think it'll play out for Savon Revel, who doesn't go to the biggest names of school? What is it? Eastern Carolina.
Yes.
So not the biggest name. Obviously, that kind of goes against our whole SEC kind of conversation. Who'd you play for? Who'd you play against? Mm-hmm. But, I mean, the kid put up some numbers. I mean, I'm going to look at the numbers and I'll rattle them off, but give me your thoughts on Revel, because you're the one that kind of brought him to my attention.
I've been huge on Revel for a while now. I loved him in 2023. He played ECU, so not the greatest competition. But when they throw the ball his way, the passes aren't getting caught. I'm not sure. I don't remember if he got many interceptions, but I'm pretty sure he got a few. And it's like you're playing against a top-rated corner. And like I said, it's not the best talent. But the fact that he's still playing at such an elite level is, you got to look at it and be like, he can still be good. Now, the injury, I do think it plays a part of it. But it was week 3. He missed a good chunk already. I think he'll be decently healthy. I think if I'm a team like Buffalo, where I watch Kyrie Elam run cardio against the Chiefs.
Good God.
Or even the Chiefs. I'd hate to see him there, but why not pair him with Trent McDuffie?
I was going to say, they can kind of wait the injury.
Yeah, they have you're already arguably top 5 corner.
Eagles could too.
Do they really? I don't know. I mean, well, yeah, Darius Slay's getting older. Mm-hmm. Have Savon Revel wait.
They took Quinshon Mitchell.
They have
last year.
Let's say they take Revel. You have Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, who is the Jackie Robinson of our thing.
Thank you.
And
I am very happy for representation.
And Savon Revel. That is arguably that has the potential to be the best cornerback room ever.
And so, like, this is my thing, diving deep into these players, doing, these videos, doing these mock drafts, which we will get into, we do promise. So I'm looking at his 2023 stats because it's hard to look at the 2024 because he only played 4 games, but I will get into it. He played 17 snaps in slot in 2023, 501 on the corner, 117 in the box, and then only 1 deep. Is this kid a box safety, a box corner? Like, I mean, I've looked at other cornerbacks before where they have a lot more versatility, slot in the box, not deep. I mean, I don't want a deep corner, I don't want a corner turn into a deep safety.
Yeah.
I'd rather save that for like an aging, like a Darius Slay, Devin McCourty, perfect example. He's older, you slide him back. But if Siobhan Revel can play in the slot, if he can play outside, and if he can play in the box, I mean, depending on the injury, how he recovers, that's going to be a huge weapon. Because Cooper DeJean coming out last year was a corner, was a safety, he was a DB. You kind of plug and play. I mean, that's kind of how I feel about Malachi Starks, who is not a corner. He is a safety, but we'll get into him in another video. Jahdae Barron, cornerback, safety, kind of split. You kind of plug and play wherever you want. And I think teams are going to really value that versatility because, hey, we're let's say the Eagles do take Siobhan Revel. All right, we got Slade right now. We got Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell. So we don't really need a 4th cornerback, but if we want to go dime, we can throw you in the slot or we can throw you in the box because you're versatile, you're quick, and they're going 5 wide. Yeah. Quickly, let me talk about the 2024, even though he only played 3 games. 2 in the slot, 185 snaps in the corner, 16 in the box. So he's still getting a few snaps in the box, more than he got in slot. So I think that versatility for a guy that is 6'3", 193 pounds, pretty good, in my opinion.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Like I said, I was very high on Revel. It's the injury's gonna suck because I'm pretty sure it was like an ACL injury, which it's like a lot to recover from. But if he can just play like he did at ECU, which I know, it's gonna be hard to just copy and paste. You're going against ECU talent compared to whatever the Bills are. You're playing, Garrett Wilson, whoever else the Patriots have, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. Yeah,
nobody.
So it'll definitely be hard. But if you can, like I said, the Eagles are probably a perfect scenario for him. Because he won't have as much pressure. He has the time to, all right, I can fully heal. They have a loaded cornerback room.
That's the thing is no pressure, doesn't have to play right away. That's where he's going to go and
if
be best.
He can go there, I think he can live up to not his max potential because he'll have other people there, not taking his spot, but, taking less pressure on him. So there's not much pressure. Hey, I don't have to be as good as I can be, even though obviously it's what he's going to want to do. I can just be myself. I can, cover whoever they are. I know I got my other cornerback over there to help me out. I think as long as the injury doesn't set him back, he'll be fine.
That's a huge factor. And I pulled up Jahdae Barron because we refer to him a lot. We both like him a lot. Here's his stats for this past year. 122 in the slot, 679 in the corner, 142 in the box, 15 deep. But 2023, and I think this is where the whole corner safety kind of comes into play, 389 in the slot, 43 at the corner, and 154 in the box. He can play wherever you need him to play. Now, coming out, he's going to be more of a cornerback because that's kind of what he was much more of this year. But his stats from his freshman and sophomore year, more of a safety. So again, Jahdae Barron's going to go to a team that needs versatility, who doesn't need a plug-and-play week 1 starter at corner. They don't need a number 1 corner. So like a team like the Browns, let's say, perfect example. Let's just say they keep Denzel Ward. You don't need Jahdae Barron to be your number 1 corner. You can have him be your number 2, or you can have him be your strong safety, or whatever it may be. So I mean, again, we can kind of dive into it later on in future videos, but it looks like there's going to be a lot of versatility in the secondary because we've talked about safeties before and how not obviously on the video but off camera before we started doing this, the versatility of a lot of these secondary guys being corners, safeties, deep box, whatever it may be. So I definitely do think cornerback is going to be a very interesting class to watch portrayed this year. Is there anyone else that we should be talking about?
There's so many people we should be talking about. It's just like we said earlier, it's a deep class.
Yep.
I keep saying Will Howard. Will Johnson, I think it is, out of Michigan. Is he too high? I mean,
his ADP is 8.1, and they have him as the 6th best prospect. Now, prospect ranking and your actual draft position are going to be two different things because Shedeur Sanders averaged his rankings like in the 40s, but his average draft is like 3. So it's...
I don't think he's too high. I think he's also another player. It's the issue. All right, so here's the issue with the cornerbacks.
And he's a true corner. 245 in the corner, only 8 at the slot. So he's a true corner.
Yeah, the issue with the cornerbacks this year is they're all great or can be great. They're all injured. Will Johnson was hurt. Benjamin Morrison hurt. Savon Revel hurt. And it's like, these guys can be great, but it's like, do we want to take them this high and maybe wait? Now, none of them are ACL injuries like Revel, so they'll most likely be ready. But like Will Johnson, my favorite spot for him is a team like Jacksonville, a team like New England, which I know you don't want corner. There's so many other pieces,
I
but
don't even know anymore with this team. I don't know.
He has such high potential. He played great at Michigan. I can't speak too high on him because he's one of the players I haven't gotten around to when it comes to tape. Because when I watch tape, I like to do by position. Corners, I think I'm doing safeties and corners, even though I've already loaded up on Malachi.
These are Mel Kiper, Todd McShay right here, grinding the tape, absolutely grinding the tape.
But yeah, so I haven't got there yet. I didn't watch much Michigan this year for obvious reasons. I don't want to, they weren't a great team, but from what I've heard, the few little bit of tape I've seen, he's a lockdown corner. That dude is a beast, and
you think the top 10, regardless,
in the league or
no, like in the draft.
Oh, top. I think it's regardless top 2.
Top 2 pick.
Oh,
I'm talking about draft position.
Oh,
top 10.
Yeah,
lock,
top 10.
Right?
My bad. I thought you were talking about position.
Now, Will Johnson top 10, Ben Morrison top 10, or no?
Ben Morrison is a tricky situation
because that means 3 corners would go in the top 10: Travis, him, and then Will Johnson as well.
I think Ben Morrison is not a top 10. Skill wise, yes.
Yeah.
Injury. I mean, Will Johnson's injury was slight. It still hindered him, but it was more of a, hey, this kid's so great. I think he's still top 10. Benjamin Morrison, I'd say late teens to 20s. But that's still 3 corners, arguably. I think by the time we're done here in 2 months, there will be at minimum 4 corners taken in the first round. Maybe 5, depending on Savon Revel. Maybe 6 if was it Azariah Thomas, or I think the kid from Kentucky, I think it is. I know a lot of people are high on him. Or if a team wants to reach on Trey Amos, there could be a lot. There could be
a lot of corners going.
A lot of corners, which is weird, but it's a deep class.
I feel like we'll see a lot of run of positions, run of tackle, run of receiver, run of corner, and I think that's kind of the trend that the league kind of follows because. A team will take them. It's like, oh, wow. And then the team behind them, like, oh, wow, they just took them. Well, let's just take them too. And then a team will trade in to kind of get in on the action. So I think we're definitely going to see a lot of runs at key positions. Not quarterback, not running back, but your tackles where there's depth, wide receiver where there's depth, corners where there's depth. I think those are going to be probably the big 3 we're going to see a lot of runs at. Why don't we do a mock draft?
All right.
Let's get rolling. All right, so I'm going to have myself blocked out just for a second, just so you can guys see the draft order real quick, and then we'll kind of get going. But Titans at 1, Browns 2, Giants 3, Pats 4, Jags 5. What Hector and I like to do offline is we like to kind of alternate. Today we're only going to do 1, but typically we do 2 where we both kind of get the odds and we both get the evens. Hector, do you want odds or evens today for the video?
I'll do odds.
Odds. So that means he's going to go first. He'll have picks 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, so on and so on. I'll have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, so on. What we usually do, we won't do it today because we just want to ease into it. We usually do about 2 or 3 trades per, just to kind of get a little excitement and juice. But since it's our first mock draft, we're just going to kind of ease into it with just 1. All right, without any further ado, Hector, would you like to kind of hit it? And once we get past the top 5 picks, I'll bring myself in. I'm right here. I'm just, I'm covering up some picks, and I don't want to do that for people. So I'll leave myself out for now. Take it away. Where are you going to go?
With the first pick, we talked about not doing this. We talked about the team shouldn't do this. Titans are going Cam Ward.
Interesting. Very controversial to what we were talking about earlier. So we do have some time to kind of discuss some of these earlier picks. Shop does open in 20 minutes, but why? Why are they taking Cam Ward here? If I can find him.
Because you're not guaranteed. Here's my thing. Cam Ward, we've talked about earlier, has a potential to be. He's my favorite quarterback in this class.
Okay.
That doesn't mean that I think he's high. I just think out of all of them, he's my favorite one. He has the potential to be good, and who knows? DJ Lagway could suck. Arch
is
Manning
true.
could suck.
That is true.
Carson Beck, it's Carson Beck. I'm not huge on him either. Why not take the guy who has potential? He's only what? I think he's only 22, 23. I know this contradicts everything we just talked about.
Literally everything. I'll bring myself over here.
But honestly, I mean, I like having fun mock drafts, and I think
Absolutely.
why not take the guy who, like, I think his only issue, or there's multiple issues. His main one is holding onto the ball.
Okay.
Honestly, have him hold the ball in practice. Just hold it like this, and have Jeffrey Simmons come over and just keep punching
Try to
it.
smack it out.
And just, I know this sounds, why would you do that? Jeffrey Simmons is the best. Oh, no, sorry, not the best. Arguably the best D tackle. Why not just have him hit the ball out and just hold on to it?
So I'm going to have the Browns, controversial to their team needs, as you can see here. I'm going to have them take Abdul Carter. I think best player available. I think best player in the draft. If you do trade Myles Garrett, you have his replacement. If you don't trade Myles Garrett, you have a pretty damn good duo off the edge there. Kind of like Von Miller and Aaron Donald on the Rams a couple years ago, but if they were younger, well, at least one of them was younger. I just think that's a no-brainer if he is available. If Abdul Carter's not available, and let's say the Titans do not take a quarterback and they do take Carter, I think that kind of really stirs up the conversation. I think that's where Travis Hunter will kind of fall in line for the Browns. But Giants at 3, I think it's kind of obvious here.
Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah.
I was gonna go Travis Hunter, but they need to save their job.
All right. So, yeah, you guys can still see, rank, ADP. You can still see their names. You can still see their positions. So that's good. So, Patriots are on the clock now. I think this is, I don't want to say best case scenario, but I think this is a pretty good scenario for the Patriots. 2 quarterbacks off the board, and 1 Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter is off the board. In this situation, Abdul Carter is, and that's why I'm going to have them taking Travis Hunter. If Abdul Carter is available here, I think you do take Abdul Carter. I'm going to have the Patriots take Travis Hunter because I think they're going to want to try to play around with the whole cornerback wide receiver situation. If the Patriots can't address their needs, their wide receiver needs in free agency, then I think they're going to have to be forced to take McMillan here from Arizona. If you can't sign them, force them to come here. But Travis Hunter does give you that versatility and he's a decent wide receiver too. So maybe you're able to kind of rock around with both. But Jags at 5. What do we got?
This one is probably going to sound crazy because every pick we have them go defense because their defense isn't great. Mm-hmm. But they just hired Liam Cohn,
Duval.
Yeah, very interesting press conference. But he made Baker Mayfield, which, love Baker Mayfield, he's fan, but made him look like an MVP caliber quarterback.
Very true.
They went toe-to-toe with Washington. Get Trevor Lawrence some help. BTJ, arguably the best receiver in that class.
Yep.
I mean, I think it's clearly Neighbors still, but had the best season out of all of them. Mm-hmm. Evan Ingram, yeah, he's getting older, but he's still a good tight end. Other than that, we got Gabe Davis.
So we going McMillan?
I'm going Tyler McMillan.
All right, McMillan. All right, so let's see. Raiders, very interesting team here. Could they go running back? Sure. Could they go quarterback? Sure. I mean, if Shedeur or Cam is available, I would see one of them going here. But they're a team that's going to be decided based on free agency, I think. I don't think there's no right or wrong pick so far with the Raiders. If they address their quarterback needs with Russell Wilson or Sam Darnold, then obviously quarterback's off the board. If Nick Chubb leaves the Browns and the Raiders bring him in, Ashton Genty's off the board. If they're able to address their needs at wide receiver with a T. Higgins or a reunion with Devontae Adams, wide receivers off the board. They're a very interesting team here. I'm going to have them take Will Johnson because they need defensive help. They have Pete Carroll, who can scheme up a good defense, who can run a good offense, but you need players, and I think they need significant players on the defensive side of the ball.
You have the team we just talked about. The Jets.
J-E-T. Whoa, what happened?
Uh-oh.
Hold on.
You're leaking all your information.
I really am. I'll cut it out. I'll have to cut this out. There we go. All right, go ahead.
And I know we said offense, try and get whoever the quarterback is some weapons.
Yep.
McMillan's gone.
Done.
And Aaron Glenn, huge defensive guy, had fun in Detroit. I was thinking Mason Graham or Will Johnson. You took Will Johnson, so I'm going to pivot from those two.
Okay.
Malachi Starks.
Love it.
Have your, what's the term? I can't remember. Anyways, just have him play all over the backfield. Give Sauce Gardner some help. You're losing.
Look at it. So here's the stats, guys. You can see in 2024, 271 in the slot, 215 in the box, 400 deep. He's not only a box safety, an engage 8 kind of safety, but he's also a Devin McCourty, a guy that can just play deep, 15, 25 yards off the line of scrimmage. If you need him to line up at corner for whatever reason, he's got a couple snaps there too, especially in the slot. So, I mean, if you want him on the slot as your third corner, if you want him in the box as kind of a sub linebacker, or if you want him deep as a free safety center fielder, he's your guy. And I think he has all the experience in the world with the national championships and obviously being at Georgia. Sorry, I absolutely cut you off there,
That's
but
fine.
I love Malachi Starks.
You cut me off as perfect because it was Swiss Army knife.
Yeah.
I couldn't think of the term. I don't
Yeah.
know why, but
And this is kind of what we were talking about a little bit with Siobhan Revel and Jahdae Barron. Just Malachi Starks is the elite version of both of them, or at least the current elite version of both of them. If he goes to the Jets, his career is probably going to suck, but that's just the nature of it.
I mean,
All right.
Darrelle Revis didn't suck.
That is true, but the team still sucked with Darrelle Revis.
Yeah.
So, but I think, whatever.
Yeah.
All right, Panthers. Do they address their needs and give Bryce Young more help? Do they address their needs on defense, which clearly you can see here, these team needs are always changing. One day it's this, the next day it's that. I'm going to go with defense here just to I think that was their big issue last year. Bryce Young was able to keep them in a lot of games offensively. But let's go Mason Graham here. Arguably, I'm not going to say he is, but arguably the best defensive player. Obviously, you have Abdul Carter, who makes a strong anti-case against that. But saying Mason Graham's the second best defensive player, definitely not far-fetched.
I don't hate it.
All right. 9 with the Saints.
This is a weird one.
I think it gets a little bit more weird, especially since we're not trading.
Yeah.
Which we will in future mock drafts. We do promise.
I'm gonna do Will Campbell here.
Will Campbell.
You gotta protect either Carr or Rattler. I mean, the weapons aren't great, but I mean, Rashid Shaheed and Olave are fine. We can plus also attack one, not attack, but get weapons in the later rounds.
MVS.
Oh man, Packer
2
legend.
receptions, 140 yards. That's all you need.
2-time Super Bowl champ. Wait, I don't know.
I don't know.
Is he
I
2-time?
think just 1.
I think he won 2 with the Chiefs.
Was he there? Okay.
Oh well, either way.
Whatever. All right, so now we're about to reach the outside of the top 10. Let's start doing a little bit of rapid fire here. Bears, if they didn't hire Ben Johnson, I don't think they're taking Genty, but since they do, I'm having them take Genty.
No. San Francisco 49ers. Mike Green.
Mike Green, your guy. You
Favorite?
talked about him a lot last time. I love
did.
it. Cowboys, no Genty. Obviously, if Genty's available, I think that's an absolute lock. I think they can go with a variety of different ways. I'm going to probably go Luther Burden here.
I like
Brady Cook kind of hindered him a little bit. He did have a down season, but I think he is still, skill-wise, talent, and potential, one of the top prospects in this draft.
this one. Where is he? Kelvin Banks for the Dolphins.
Great pick. Protect Tua. He needs it. All right.
I wonder.
I'm not doing it.
Oh, okay,
Every
well,
mock draft, we have the Colts taking Tyler Warren. And obviously, this is our first mock draft together. You guys, I'm not going to have Tyler Warren go to the Colts because every mock draft, that's the case. I saw this at the hotel last night.
Ooh.
They took edge. Best edge available is James Pierce. I'm going to go James Pierce for now.
I like it.
But for the most part, if Tyler Warren is there, I think they go
No,
Tyler
I like
Warren.
that pick. Atlanta. Where is it? See, where can I find Michael Williams?
Good pick. Cardinals. Now, you guys see here, guard, tackle, D-line. Of course, those are absolute team needs. Protect Kyler. I still think Emeka Ibuka, pair him back up with Marvin Harrison. You give Kyler legit weapons. I think that offense goes to the next level.
Bengals. I'm going to go, not a reach here, but Walter Nolan.
I like it. They need defense.
Anything defense at all.
Anything. Just throw a dart at a defensive player, and that's a good pick. Seahawks. This is a good one. This one always stumps me, but I got to filter the position here because I want a linebacker. I want them taking Jahad Campbell.
Where is he? Oh, that's edge. Oopsies. Where is he? Jahad Campbell, you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think they need to address that defense, especially in the middle.
And, well, funny enough, we're going to go back-to-back. I'm going to have Jalen Walker to the Buccaneers.
Okay. Back-to-back linebackers, Jalen Walker, Bama, Georgia, 2 great linebackers. Broncos, very interesting pick here. I think Tyler Warren here is an absolute steal, but makes a lot of great sense.
Pittsburgh here. I am going to go Where is it? Cornerback. I'm gonna go Jade Barron.
Great pick. Do I have to filter? I do. Filter, corner. Jade Barron, Swiss Army knife. Chargers. Do you help Herbert? I think you do, but I mean, you can kind of see here, there's not a lot of great players in this kind of area. So I'm going to pivot here, and I'm going to go Jack Sawyer here. Someone who's climbing up my draft boards. I know he's climbing up some other people's draft boards, but I think he's going to be not on the level of Aiden Hutchinson. But if Hutchinson's 1A, he's going to be 2.
Yeah. Package
Best way
here.
to think of it.
I'm going to have us take Edge. I'm going to take Shamar Stewart.
Us.
Yeah, I'm the GM.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Vikings. Now, when we get to trades, this is a team I'm having trade out, without a doubt. Look at their ass. Oh, you can't see him. Hold on, Hector. I got to hide you.
It's okay.
Hide Hector. They have 24, 97, 139, and 160. They need assets. Bring Hector back in, but since we're not doing trades, they're going to stick and pick, and they're going to take Kenneth Grant. I think safety or corner is a good pick here as well.
I like it. Houston, you know what? I'm going to not pivot, I guess, but a new pick for us.
Okay.
Matthew Golden.
I like that. I mean, receiver. They need help. Tank Dell's going to be out for a while.
I think there's other players on here that they should take instead, but why not have some little bit of fun?
We're all about fun here. Rams. Now, we're getting into the playoff teams, obviously, and when Hector and I were doing these offline, I always kept saying, depending on how these teams lose, I think that's the direction that these teams are going to go in. I'm going to have the Rams take arguably the best tackle, if healthy, and that's Josh Simmons. If Stafford's there, veteran guy, you can kind of wait. He knows how to read a pocket. But, I mean, if you're going to have a younger quarterback, you're going to want a great tackle.
Let's see. Let's see. Here for the Ravens. No, where is it? Why can't I find this guy? Nick Scorton.
I see him. Lions. That's a good one. I think anything defense really for the Ravens makes a lot of sense. Lions. Oh, man. I mean, they got absolutely cooked by having thin corners against the Commanders. Ben Morrison sitting here, who I think could be an easy top 15 kind of a player. I'm going to have the Lions take Ben Morrison. I think that's this absolute steal at 28.
Commanders, I mean, he fell right into their hands. Somebody Armand Membu from Mizzou.
Beautiful pick. Protect your franchise quarterback. Bills, Khair Elam stinks. He blows. I think Siobhan Revel here is without a doubt a awesome pick. We talked about this earlier.
Kansas City, what do they go here? I mean, Mahomes got killed. Josh Connery looks good. Gray Zabel had a great Senior Bowl. But I'm going to take Tyleik Williams from Ohio State. Chris Jones is getting old.
Defensive side of the ball. Interesting.
I know they have a great defense, but I mean, Philly made it look average. The D-line, Chris Jones is getting older. Give him some help.
I'm going to go with... I don't think Mekhi Becton comes back. I don't know what his contract situation. I think it's only like a 1-year deal. Obviously, again, free agency is going to play a huge factor into that. A.J. Brown's a huge factor into that. Oh, man, I just don't know. What do we have for edge? I don't think Brandon Graham comes back. I think he retires. I mean, how many edge rushers are we going to have go in this first round? It's crazy. And this is a tough one. I'm gonna go Landon Jackson. I'm gonna go Landon Jackson here, but it's gonna be very interesting to see what the Eagles do with that pick.
No, I don't hate that. I think this is a pretty good mock draft. It's just, no trades.
All right, so yeah, that was a very exciting mock draft, and we're definitely going to have more in-depth information about each player, strategies, ideas. Kind of alluded to a lot of that. We're gonna get to trades eventually as well, but kind of how you alluded to, this is a good mock draft for one that didn't have any trades. I think this was an absolutely good mock draft. A lot of positions, I think, were addressed by teams. I think a lot of players went where we absolutely can see and can make good defense and where they're going to go. Luther Burden to the Cowboys, that's a big one. James Pierce to the Colts. Again, these moves make sense. May not be the most ideal moves for some of these teams, like Kenneth Grant to the Vikings. I mean, they need defense, though. Yeah. So, I mean, a move like that absolutely makes sense. Any immediate takeaways from this mock draft that we did?
Not many. I think it's definitely an interesting one because we usually do trades, trades. I went quarterback with the first pick, which usually I don't think we've done it in the past month.
I was gonna say, yeah, we've definitely kind of strayed away from that idea.
But I feel like it definitely is a more realistic draft because I can definitely see the Titans taking Cam Ward. I know they said generational, but I'm not gonna say. I was gonna say maybe he could be generational, but
Only
or it
time
could be a smoke screen. But a lot of these picks I like.
That's true.
There was no. I mean, I know people are probably gonna question like you taking Ibuka for the Cardinals, but who's he throwing to? I mean, he has Marv, he has McBride.
Marv was very underwhelming for his rookie season compared to the hype that he did have.
I mean, when he got the targets, he was really good.
Yeah.
Kyler was, they had James Conner who was pounding the rock. He's passing the ball all over the place. Marv didn't need to be the superstar for the first time in, 3 years?
Yeah, for however long he's been at Ohio State for. It's very interesting what a lot of these teams are going to do. And as we do these mock drafts, we're going to have the Cardinals take receiver or the Cardinals take line. We're going to have the Bears take Genty, and we're going to have the Bears take whoever. And we're going to have the Patriots take this guy and the Patriots take that guy. There's going to be so much change and such. And again, as we get closer and through free agency, this stuff's going to change. If, let's say, I don't know, the Patriots bring in T. Higgins and they bring in this player and that player. Well, now what do they do with 4? Oh, now trading out makes sense. Or let's say the Cowboys do bring in T. Higgins themselves or whatever, or they bring in a guy like Nick Chubb. All right, now they don't need a receiver or a running back. So things will change, needs will change. But as we sit here, February 17th, you guys are watching this on the 18th, this is what we think the draft absolutely could look like, again, with no trades. As we wrap this up, we got a couple minutes left. Any outgoing takes, final thoughts in regards to anything we talked about, whether it was the teams, some needs maybe, or the mock draft itself?
When it comes to final thoughts, I mean, I think all around, I agree, or I agree, but I feel like we are mutually agreeing in like a lot of it, and I feel like it's so easy to hit these mock drafts because, like when I'm at home, I'll sometimes I'll do mock drafts alone because it helps. Like I said, I do a lot
crunching tape.
Yeah, and it's like. I always like having a second opinion on things, or not even a second opinion, just two sets of eyes on it because it's like, I could think this. And you're a Patriots fan because I always thought, Patriots should trade down. Now I'm hearing it from someone else's POV, and it's like, well, you don't like it. Yeah, you don't like the idea. So I definitely think, that's just my few final thoughts is that having two people, maybe potentially a third, who knows, doing this is just a lot more, not easier, but a lot more fun. A lot like... Yeah, just a lot more fun in recent years.
I absolutely agree with you, and I think trading down for a lot of teams doesn't make a lot of sense. Again, no team has 2 first-round picks, and I think that's kind of the lust of trading down is you take 4th overall and you trade it for 7 and 12. Yeah. Again, just throwing numbers out there, but like that's the appeal. Plus, you get something else on top of that as well. Whereas no team has 2 first-round picks. If that was to change with a trade of sorts between now and the draft, that's going to monumentally change a lot of my opinions for a lot of these teams. Yeah. Now the Titans trading out of 1 makes way more sense. I mean, I think they still should, but they need a haul. They need bigger than what the Panthers had to give up because what the Bears got for 1, it absolutely changed the landscape of it. But I think that also going from 9 to 1, I think is a huge factor as well. But if any team can get 2 first-round picks between now and the draft, I think it's absolutely going to change how I look at a lot of teams. Patriots trading down, that conversation completely changes. The Jets, the Raiders, just pick any of those teams really within like the top 12 picks. I mean, that kind of changes a lot. But I'm very, very excited for kind of doing more of these mock drafts here on the channel, talking more about this player, that player. Maybe an unfortunate injury pops up to a top 10 player that we think, that's going to change things. Obviously, the combine's going to change things. Pro days will change things. Free agency that I've mentioned 1,000 times will change things. So what we're saying today, and this is the glory of this whole process, what we're saying today is not the law and it's not the gospel come draft day. Things could change. McMillan drops. Maybe Burden rises. Maybe Will Campbell announces he's a guard. Some crazy things. And I think that's the true excitement of this whole process. More exciting to me than the regular season is, at the very least. But that will wrap it up for this video, guys. Thank you guys so much for joining. Again, another long video here, but we have so much to talk about. I mean, again, we talked about a myriad of different topics today. And when we sit down to do this, not next week, but the week after, we're going to have more topics to talk about, more teams, more positions. But that will wrap it up for this one, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please make sure you smash the thumbs up button if you haven't. like the video. I would definitely appreciate it. Comment down below your questions, thoughts, comments, concerns, anything you want to piggyback up on. Maybe you agree with Hector or I. Maybe you disagree. We definitely would love to engage in the comment section. But also consider smashing that giant red subscribe button. Check out the channel membership program if you guys haven't done so already. But that will do it for this video. Hector, I'm going to cover your face with the video here for them to watch. My face will get covered with, I think, subscribing, whatever it may be. But guys, we'll catch you in the next one. Between now and then, peace out. Bye.